welcome to the latest edition of PBP Tips. Today's video is going to look at one of the most important choices you'll make for PBP 2019, and that is picking a start time.
Okay, let's talk about start times. There are 3 different start times that you choose when you sign up for PBP. And just a note, once you choose a start time, you're stuck with that. 3 start times. One of those is 80 hours, then 84, then 90. So let's talk about those individually. So the 80-hour start is going to start on a Sunday afternoon. You have 80 hours to finish. So that's 3 full days plus 8 hours. 80-hour start is really for the guys and gals who know they're strong enough to finish the ride in a fairly quick time. If you're one of those people, you probably don't need these advice videos, but that's what that group is for. Probably the smallest group, other than the special bikes, recumbents and tandems, etc. Because it's a self-selected group of very fast riders. Next group, and let's take them a little bit out of order, is the 90-hour group. So that's the longest time limit. It's going to leave on Sunday, later on in the day, after the 80-hour group. It's by far the largest group, and that makes sense. It's the time limit that gives you the most buffer, the most leeway for things potentially going wrong. And if you just can't ride that fast, it certainly makes sense to pick that time limit. So you're going to leave in the early evening. You're going to ride into the night and then continue on. The last group then is the 84-hour group. That's the one that leaves last. That group takes off about 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So you've got 84 hours to do that. That's 3.5 days. It's only 4 hours different from the 80-hour group. But for a lot of people, that's going to make a difference. I've always chosen the 84-hour group. I finished twice in under 80 hours. Finished once in 82.5. That was 2007 on a fixed gear in the rain. So my other 2 years have been a little bit faster, even though I got a lot more sleep the other 2 times. So the 84-hour group, you're going to start a little bit before sunrise. You're going to ride into the day. And that's a big point. Let's talk about that. So both the 80 and the 90-hour groups, you're basically starting in daytime, riding into the dark. You're going to ride, most people will, all night long into the day the next day, at which point you start making decisions about whether, when, and where you're going to sleep. The 84-hour group, you start before sunrise, you ride through a full day, and then into the night. That's a more normal sleep pattern. So let's talk about some pluses and minuses. I'm going to focus on the 84 and the 90-hour groups. Let's do 90 hours first. One of the pluses is that it is the biggest group. It's the one where you'll be riding with the most people. You'll be getting to the controls maybe after that 80-hour group, but there's not many of them. So the controls will be well stocked, and you're out there with a huge group of other people. Now, I've never done that group, but I've talked to those who have, and that's one thing that's fun about it. You're riding in the dark, but on the other hand, you'll see a line of taillights ahead of you as far as you can see, and that's kind of fun. Now, on the downside, at least for me, the reason I've never chosen 90 hours is that you start by riding into the night. For me, that means that I would be setting myself up for sleep deprivation by not being able to sleep that entire first night. Especially if you then ride through the next day and don't sleep until the second night. That's a long time to go. And I think that's where some people start digging themselves into a hole in terms of sleep and being fresh and ready to ride. Because you're part of a big group, in the 90-hour start, you're also going to be there at the controls with a lot of people. You're going to be all getting there at the same time, and you might find the lines there taking you longer than you wanted to. So on to the 84-hour group. Now, plus there, again, the major issue for me is that you can get basically a full night's sleep, and you're riding fresh and into the day. My schedule, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in a future video, basically has me riding through that first day until about 11 or 12, at which time I get to Ludiac and sleep there. So you're riding into the day. You don't have to worry about sleep deprivation as much. More of your ride is going to be in the daytime, obviously, which means you get to see it. And that for me is partly why you go and do PBP, is to see the French countryside. You do the 90-hour start, a huge chunk of the really pretty country just west of the start, it's going to be dark, you're not going to see it. On the downside, not as many people to ride with. The group is smaller, and you'll find shorter lines at the controls. You might find, and this only happened to a limited extent last time, that the controls are a little bit low on supplies, especially the last few on the inbound route. They may have run out of something particular. But that's kind of a small issue for me. Usually so hungry and thirsty by that point, you'll eat and drink just about anything. To recap, picking a start time is really going to be based on a number of things. Probably the most important of those is how comfortable you feel finishing within whatever time limit you've selected. And as I mentioned, if you pick, for instance, the 84-hour start time, you're stuck with that. If you finish in 85 hours, you're not an official finisher, even though if you had signed up for the 90-hour start time and finished in 85, you would be. So make sure you can finish within whatever time you picked. From there, it's a matter of how comfortable you are with nighttime riding. If you don't particularly like it, or if you want to maximize daytime riding, my choice has always been pick the 84-hour start. But that's really kind of an individual choice. If you're riding with a group or with some friends, talk amongst yourselves, decide. See how strong you all feel. See whether you think you can make it within an 84-hour start. If you can, and again, it's been my personal choice for 3 editions of PBP, I would pick the 84-hour start. I enjoy doing that because it ends up meaning I'm riding through 3 full days of riding. I've got 3 nights when I spend at least half the night sleeping and not riding, and then another half a day at the end. Whereas if you do the 90-hour start, you're basically setting yourself up for 4 nights and 3 days of riding. And for me, that's kind of upside down from where I'd like to be. You've got time to pick. Look at your finishing times. See how fast you think you can get to Brest. Pick a start time that'll let you finish, and go out and enjoy the ride.